Zebra mussels are an invasive species from Eurasia that was introduced to the U.S. in 1988. The ability of zebra mussels to attach to hard surfaces, live for extended periods out of water, and the small size of their larvae have allowed them to be transported easily and has contributed to the rapid range expansion. In 2016, zebra mussels were discovered to have spread to Flathead Lake in Montana. This was the first time the species had been discovered in the region. One popular and very effective method for controlling zebra mussel populations is the use of a copper sulfate treatment. However, recent studies have found that long-term application of copper sulfate can have negative short and long-term impacts, such as accelerated phosphorus recycling, occasional fish kills due to oxygen depletion and copper toxicity, copper accumulation in sediments, and hazardous runoff of water with high concentrations of copper. Many studies have focused on the impact to the aquatic ecosystem where the copper sulfate is applied. However, we are curious about what the potential impact might be to the soils and groundwater surrounding Flathead Lake. To answer this question, we will investigate the potential mobility of copper sulfate in 4 soils found around Flathead Lake. It is important to consider the impacts of copper accumulation in and around the lake. Copper sulfate is known to build up once used and is difficult to remove. Water that has been contaminated with copper sulfate can be harmful to crops, animals, and people. Greenhouse studies with non-metal tolerant plant species have shown that concentrations as low as 3.17 times 10 to the negative 4 micrograms per gram can cause significantly lower growth rates, leaf chlorosis, root damage, and changes in photosynthetic rates. In waters where copper treatments have been used in the past, copper levels have been as high as 320 micrograms per gram to 1,093 micrograms per gram. Copper levels in waters receiving mine tailing discharge have been recorded at 0.074 micrograms per gram in surface water and 8,000 micrograms per gram in sediments. We started our experiment by looking at the infiltration rate of water through 4 soils commonly found around Flathead Lake. Studies have found that copper in soils with clay content above 20% is virtually immobile, whereas copper in soils with low clay content can move up to 7 centimeters in a 10-day period. Copper, too, is a cation, meaning that it is less mobile in soils with low pH. Studies have found that at pH above 6.6, 99% of the copper is immobile. Additionally, organic matter, which has an overall negative charge, forms strong complexes with copper, making it less mobile. Based on the results of our study, we feel that we do not have to worry as much about transportation of copper through soils and groundwater, but rather deposition at the bottom of lake beds and sedimentation of copper. Copper sulfate precipitates as a heavy metal in water. Accumulation of it can cause a water bottom to become sterile, leading to decreased levels of beneficial bacteria. The USDA explains that neutralizing copper soil toxicity is extremely difficult once the problem occurs. Copper has low solubility, which enables it to persist in the soil for years. The costs of either soil remediation or removal of zebra mussels should fall under the purview of Fish and Wildlife and Parks and other stakeholders engaged in the management of the Flathead Lake ecosystem. However, considering the negative impacts that copper can have, there are alternative treatments that we feel should be considered.